Okay, so as you've just heard, we've got Ben Coomber on the podcast today. So first and foremost, good day to you, Ben. How are you doing, mate?
Hello, sir. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. For any of our audience that's been living under a rock for sort of the last 5, 8, 10 years, however long you've been around now, give us a brief introduction as to who you are and what it is that you do, Ben.
So in the PT and the fitness space, I became a personal trainer because of my personal journey, which I think many personal trainers have had. So at the age of 18, I was obese, lost all the weight, had a lot of struggles. The struggles was kind of quite a life-changing element for me because I kind of realised like, wow, when you get the information right and you apply it right, great change can happen. And I actually did a personal training type course just to train myself better. It was kind of just like I was hungry for knowledge. And then I kind of caught the bug. The courses that I did, I found quite inspiring. I really liked my tutor and my mentor, which was Paul Check at the time, which I'm sure a good handful of people will know. You know, he's still in the industry doing some interesting things. And then it kind of just snowballed. I really got into nutrition, so I specialized in nutrition. But then at the age of 21, after being a personal trainer for like a year, I kind of got itchy feet, wanted to kind of spread my wings, wanted to learn different stuff. I also felt that I'd kind of skipped a few basics in sort of my personal training journey and went to university to study sports performance and coaching, which is essentially sports science, but with a kind of a slant towards coaching athletic populations. When I was at uni, I was working lots of different jobs. There was an opportunity to start a business because my university was trying to foster entrepreneurship, and I kind of sort of had that desire. I've been self-employed ever since I was 19. So I sort of slowly went from personal training into online nutrition coaching. And then since sort of 2008, I've been sort of 80% in the online space working as a trainer and educator. But of course, I do a lot of public speaking. And now we have a supplement company, a nutrition education company. I do a lot of public speaking, and I've generally got a relatively big mouth online.
There we go. Brief history of Ben Coomber.
There we go.
So as we sort of just talked about before we hit record, Ben, a lot of our audience will already know who you are. We know you in the industry as like the nutrition guy. That's your area of expertise. And as I said to you beforehand, we're probably not going to dive too much into the nutrition side of things today, because I think you've done an awesome job of covering that. So I'm going to press on a few different areas that I've heard you talk about. One of which is the bit that you just actually mentioned then in your intro. You mentioned that like you've been an entrepreneur now since the age of 19. Where do you think that came from? Where do you think that sort of inner drive to build and run something yourself? Like, sort of the question I'm asking is, when did you become aware that that was within you? Because not everyone has that. And how did you become aware of that and know what to do with it?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan, and I think every personal trainer should be a big fan of creating an environment that leads you to the outcome that you want. You know, if we think about coaching clients, you've got to build the environment for them to be successful. If their home life is, you know, making them eat crisps, sitting in front of the telly with their partner every night, they're not going to be successful on, you know, their dieting journey. So I, from a young age, had a mum that was very much like, do what you want, like, just fail, just try it. I'll support you, whatever you do. So my mum was very supportive. I also went to a private military school, and it was very rigid. You know, you've got to polish your shoes. You've got to go to church at 20 past 8 in the morning. You've got to sing your hymns. You've got to march around a parade on a Sunday morning. And I was naturally not inclined to be obedient. And I think this made me disobedient even more. And I think that started to paint the kind of journey of the entrepreneur of wanting to do things your own way and pave your own journey, not wanting to kind of listen to others. And I suppose after trying things, you get a flavor for it. And once you become happy with failure, which being in business is something that you need to be comfortable with. You need to be okay with failure. You're going to fail a lot. I've failed a lot and I continue to fail. So I think it was that journey that kind of just fostered it. And when I was 18, you know, I kind of realized, look, what have I got to lose? I've got a roof over my head. Like, I don't actually need that much money to live. Like, yeah, food, yeah, gym membership, yeah, whatever. And actually, I put myself into a good position when I was younger. I worked 2 jobs. I worked as a van driver during the day and a barman at night. So I worked like 12 hours a day, went to the gym when I was 18. And, I just gave myself a good platform for the future and just realized that in life we have an abundance of opportunities. You just got to be willing to take them. And I just started to take them from a really early age. And I think that just obviously set a very positive environment for me to be successful in the way that I have been.
Yeah, and that's awesome to hear, because most people that follow you now will have never seen that little snippet of time in your journey. And obviously it's a very important time when you're sort of working different jobs and doing different things and sort of learning skills that you probably don't develop within this industry. You probably bring them from somewhere else, from a different job and things like that. So it's quite good to hear that. And as you mentioned there, you failed quite a lot of times. You've mentioned that yourself. And it's something that I think one of the reasons people like following you, Ben, is that on your podcast and in your content, you're very open and honest about like your own struggles, your own failures. It's not just about, look at me, look at how great I am, look what I'm doing. And you're very open about sharing those failures. And in the last couple of years, I've noticed you doing a lot more of that, of like opening up and sharing a bit more and talking about different areas of life. So the question I wanted to ask along those lines was, are you, as I mentioned earlier, you're known as like the nutrition guy in the fitness industry. You seem to be talking more now about some of these other areas as well, and mindset and things like that. Is that like a conscious decision? Are you consciously trying to talk about some different things, or do you just see it as like a natural evolution of you becoming the Ben Coomber that you will eventually become?
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit of both. Obviously, I've been talking about nutrition since like 2008 online. So there's a certain amount of like, not that I'm bored with that, but like there's a lot of information out there on nutrition that I'd put out, like have a read, have a digest. So it's partly that. It's partly I feel it's what the industry needs. Like we have a mental health problem. And we have a big mental health problem in the fitness industry. I meet an awful lot of personal trainers that are not in a good place with their mental health, suffering with body dysmorphia, got anorexic, orthorexic behaviors. That needs to be solved, because those personal trainers are going to be projecting those lifestyle choices and beliefs onto their clients, whether directly or indirectly, and that's a problem. We're now seeing that people have a lot of poor relationship with technology. People are not happy with their work. And my mission is to help people live an awesome life. That's it. So I have to look at the information I'm putting out, what I'm thinking and feeling, what I see happen in the industry, what I see as trends, and carve my message to help as many people as possible. So it's partly that, and then also kind of my journey. Like I'm really comfortable with my own nutrition. I know a lot about nutrition. I'm not the most intelligent guy with nutrition. And I made a conscious choice sort of 4 or 5 years ago not to become almost even more of an expert in nutrition, because I knew it wouldn't help 99% of people. People have said to me in the past, like, oh, you should have a master's, you should have this qualification. I'm like, if I went back to uni now and tried to get a master's or a PhD, it would not make me better at my job. I believe it would make me worse at my job. What I need to know now is the nuances of behavior change, how to be a better communicator, how to be a better leader. All of those things will actually help me sculpt my message to help coach other people and lead other people and lead my business to have a bigger impact. So it's about having a wide skill set for myself and having a broad message to other people so they can help themselves.
So in terms of learning some of those skills, Ben, if they're not the type of thing that you're going to get from, like you say, going doing a master's or a PhD, what are you generally using to develop those skills then? Where are you learning those things, behavior change, leadership? Where are you generally going to find those things out and get better at those things?
Yeah, a lot of blogs, a lot of videos, a lot of books, that kind of stuff. I also have several mentors that I lean on to kind of get this kind of expertise. I'm obviously still investing time in the research. So what's the research saying on behavior change? What's the research saying on all the latest trends in nutrition, health, performance? We run a nutrition education company, so we're constantly looking at the evolving research. Like every week, I have a head of education, Tom Bainbridge. He's the co-host on my podcast. Me and him are constantly talking about what's evolving, what's happening. So scientifically, I'm grounded. I know what's going on, but also I'm developing these kind of soft skills. And do you know what? I'm also a very intuitive learner. I learn a lot from doing and my environment. And I think sometimes this is lost in the personal training industry. We're used to going on courses, and we're good at doing personal development on a kind of theoretical and textbook level. And I'm not devaluing that. That's immensely important. But a lot of the learning process is done by seeing and observing and reflecting on what happens in your everyday life. Like if you have a coaching consultation with a client and 2 weeks later you haven't got the behavior change that you wanted, you've got to analyze that process. You've got to analyze the coaching cues and steps that you use to try and take that person from point A to point B. So actually there's a huge amount of learning just in that coaching window that you might struggle to get in a book, and it might take you 3, 4, 5 books to actually find out what that thing was that you did wrong. But if you actually detract and say, do you know what, I'm going to spend half an hour breaking down this coaching window that I've just implemented with a client and try and raise the question of myself, why did it not work? What data points did I not factor into? How was my approach to the client based on their dieting history, based on how they feel, based on their environment? And once you start to do that regularly, you become a phenomenal coach. You might not be the coach that's got MSc, PhD, whatever behind their name, but you've kind of just really paid attention to what works in real life. And I think that's kind of the balance, and maybe where some people don't fully get what evidence-based practice means. Evidence-based practice, one arm of that is the evidence. The other arms are clinical experience and practice, and what is like right for the client given their situation, time constraints, all the rest of it. So that's why I always say coaching is part science and part art.
Yeah, and there's no replacement, is there, for that experience as well, just working with people day to day. And something I've had to develop as I've been in this industry now 8 years myself is that when you're in the industry at a young age, it can be very difficult to put yourself in the other person's shoes, because generally they're like double your age or something like that. They might have kids, they might have a wife, things like that. And through experience, you get better at handling these things. And if you then start to experience some of those things yourself, like I'm a husband now, I'm a dad, and I think it makes me a better coach because I understand some of these things. But when you haven't got those things in your life, you've just got to get experience spending time with these people, haven't you? And just, like you say, if your head's always in a book, there comes a point at which you've just got to do. And even if you've got to help a few people out for free to get some of that experience, I think it's really important, just that face-to-face contact with people, and maybe even asking them some questions like, why did you think that coaching process didn't work? I know it's great to ask yourself the questions, but maybe asking them as well and letting them see where you might not have considered things that actually impact them and stop them doing things. I think all of those things are important.
And this is where a lot of personal trainers can often struggle to get coaching right, because they enter into the industry from a very selfish place. And the reason why I feel I can talk with authority here is I was that guy. So I got into the fitness industry because of my journey, and I was very passionate about my journey and sharing that story. And that was kind of like step one. That made me passionate about me and my job, but it also made me quite selfish in my approach to coaching. So while I did a good assessment and I sort of listened to my clients, I didn't really listen to my clients because I was actually coming at that coaching program from quite a place of ego, about thinking about how I was going to present this information and deliver it and be successful and get the before and after photo. Now, when you do that, you don't get the best result with the client, because you're always thinking about what you want to implement and how you think the coaching process should go. And actually, when you are fully focused 100% unconditionally on the person in front of you and their unique situation, only then do you get a great coaching scenario. And actually, just having that perspective will probably allow someone to be a 10 times better coach than they already are. Because if you just listen to every word and pain point that your client is describing to you, you can create the perfect journey for them. If you've got, you're a dad, you're self-employed, you're doing all of this stuff. if I don't really listen to you and all your problems, I just can't create the right plan for you, despite how good my plan looks on paper. So as long as I can get it right for you and your unique situation, we can have a great coaching experience together.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of a slight segue away from there, but in terms of like behaviour change and things like that, I read an article this morning, and then I saw that you'd shared it as well, Ben, about the new statistics that are out around admission rates in the NHS around obesity. They're up 15%. It's now over 700,000 people a year that are being, admitted through obesity-related problems. It's clear that although the industry seems to keep getting bigger, and I think we are generally doing a better job. I do think we are improving as an industry. Clearly, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I know that's sort of the thing that you posted when you shared it as well. Like, clearly, there's a lot more work to be done. What do you potentially think we are missing, or we do need to do more of? Like, do you genuinely believe that we're going to have this impact? Because I'd like to think that we are. I'd like to think we can reverse some of this stuff, but I'd be really interested to know what your thoughts were when you read those statistics.
So when I look at the job of a personal trainer, it's, I suppose, largely about making people as healthy and as fit as possible, reversing illness, getting them into a good place, making them feel awesome. And everyone wants to have kind of an easier job as possible. It's like a natural human instinct to kind of make life just a bit easy. And if a personal trainer could be set up in a gym and have clients come up to them that are already kind of into fitness and kind of enjoy it, and they eat fairly well and they just want it fine-tuned, they want training a bit harder, they want a better plan, I bet you 9 out of 10 personal trainers would take that list of clients.
Yep.
But those are not the clients that really need the help. How many personal trainers are really putting their services and packages and initiatives out there so that the people that really need the help can get that help? Like the people that are actually affected by gripping and paralyzing levels of obesity and states of illness and lethargy and feelings of depression. Like, if we don't actually target those people, these statistics will never change. So we can sit in our bubble, in our gyms, training half-fit people to get even fitter. That does fuck all for the statistics, and it's showing that. So unless the personal trainers start to have a wider mission statement, like, why am I here? What job am I doing? Who do I want to serve? Where is my impact? Unless we make that decision to help those people, these statistics will literally never change.
Yeah. And it's quite clear from those statistics that if you start to help that audience of people, there's going to be plenty of people to help, isn't there? Because the number is only going one way at the minute. And it's going to take a lot of people helping that audience to change it and reverse it and send it back the other way.
Exactly.
There's going to be lots of opportunity there to help.
There's probably loads of personal trainers listening to this that do largely one-to-one. Well, that packaging system probably isn't going to help those people. They don't have the financial capacity to do it. Yep. So how can we create a business model that can help those people? Well, maybe a boot camp model is better. Now, we can all argue that maybe a boot camp isn't the best way to train, but that doesn't matter. As long as these people are getting off the couch, getting fitter, getting healthier, enjoying their lifestyle, feeling fitter, losing weight, that's a battle won. And I think we in the fitness industry can look at what we want to do with clients from a very kind of idealistic perspective, and that's great, but most people just want to get like 70-80% there. Like, not many people are that bothered about seeing their abs and developing pecs and all that kind of shit. Most people just want to be fit and healthy. So trainers might have to shift their packages, but I, as a trainer, always enjoyed group interaction. I absolutely loved like running boot camp sessions, doing small group training. Like, PT was, I'm going to be honest, it was all right, but it never set me on fire just training like one person 3 times a week. Like, I just thought it grew quite boring quite quickly, but the group energy of being on a fitness journey together, I thought was always awesome. Yeah.
It's definitely a great way to move forwards. And we've actually had a couple of people on the podcast prior to this interview talking about their sort of semi-private models and how they now do things differently. And you can see that it's working. It's having a massive impact on those groups of people. And just as well, just helping people change their social environment. You know, the people that they spend the most time with. A lot of people we know are struggling socially. They haven't got a nice group of people that have got like-minded views and things like that. So if we can create that for them, this will help massively. So I think that's a great model to follow. Again, taking a slight segue, Ben, I'm really interested to know, now that you're doing what you're doing and running all these different things, and you know, you've got an education company, you've got a supplement company, you do your public speaking, like, what does, if it exists at all, what does a normal day look like for Ben Coomber these days? You know, what do you actually spend the chunk of your time doing most days? How does that normally pan out for you?
Yeah, I'll talk about a day in a week because just a
Yep.
day can kind of skew things. It's probably far more boring than people kind of realise.
Yep.
So today, for example, I got up at 5 a.m. I worked for 3 hours on my emails, projects, and some strategy work for my company. I then had a team meeting. I'm doing this podcast. I'm then going to have another meeting with one of my members of staff. I'm then mapping an investment plan for something that we're kind of doing. And then I'm going to go and hit the gym. And that might be kind of a normal, like, day-to-day business running day.
Yep.
Whereas later on, so like next week, for example, I'm in Brussels doing a social media event for a food technology company as part of a European obesity and food initiative. And then on the next day, I'm at a food technology event with 2 podcast recordings with 2 people in London. Then I'm at a CPD event in later on that week. And then I'll have 2 days of like business, admin, being on the computer, project work, that kind of stuff. So it's very much like 2 or 3 days at home in my office, emails, meetings, Skypes, podcasts, 2 days on the road, speaking, CPD. Like, I still do a lot of CPD. And that's because I'm a business owner, juggling being a coach, being an educator, being a leader, working in sales and marketing. Like, there's a lot that happens in my life.
Yep.
But that's the business that I built and I love it. It keeps me energized. So yeah, day to day, I'm running a team of 6 full-time staff, 4 part-time, 3 different companies, and having to run sales, marketing, strategy, implementation, operations.
So when it comes to actually putting, you know, like your week, your month, your year together, Ben, like, where do you even start with prioritizing some of those tasks? You know, I know a lot of the trainers that I work alongside now, their businesses are growing, they're getting bigger and better opportunities, getting involved with different things. And I know that one thing that a lot of people struggle with is, where do you fit all this in? Like, how do you prioritize it? How do you learn to say no to certain things? I suppose it's a journey is the overriding thing. So, you know, what's your journey been like as you've grown with your business and that, and having to learn some of these skills, and, you know, not only managing yourself, but managing other people as well as part of that?
Yeah, I would say I've always been organized because I had it beaten into me as a young kid. Like, I went to private school, so, you know, you had to go to lessons, you had to do your homework, you had to turn up for this. And don't get me wrong, that was like forced organization. But the thing is I had the self-awareness to realize the beautiful benefits of being organized. So even when I became self-employed at the age of 19, I was like, right, I need to be organized. I need to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it. So, you know, there's periods in my month, in, you know, my quarterly chunks of the year where we'll sit down and we'll look ahead at the year and we'll say, right, what do we want to do? Why do we want to do it? How are we going to do it? How much money is it going to cost? Because obviously we're constantly investing in new initiatives, staff, projects, all sorts of stuff. And then I break that down into like a monthly plan that gets divvied out between my team. Right, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for this? What are my tasks? What should I be doing daily? And then, that gets broken down into kind of daily tasks. One of the things that I've had to learn probably over the last 2 years mainly is slightly undercommitting on my time. I used to overcommit. Most people overcommit on time.
Yep.
So we schedule our day and then we write all these to-do lists, and the to-do list ends up looking like a wish list. Oh, that'll only take 10 minutes. That'll take 5 minutes. The reality is I'm a business owner with 6 different staff, with lots of stuff happening every day. I need to be compassionate to myself and my time. And the number one thing I need to avoid is the feeling of overwhelm. because the feeling of overwhelm blocks creativity. It makes you frustrated. It makes you stressed. So I actually, like today, I've got like 3 things on my to-do list. That's it. If I find that I've got an extra hour or 2 this afternoon and I'm in a position where I'm feeling good, I want to continue to work, then I'll just pick up an extra project. But that project isn't on my to-do list to make sure that I don't have this kind of real pressure to kind of do it. Don't get me wrong. There is points in everyone's journey where you need that pressure. Don't get me wrong. There has been, probably a good 5-year period in my business where I probably consistently worked maybe about 10 hours every day.
Yeah.
Now that's 60 or 70 hours a week for a good 3, 4, 5 years. That's why I am where I am today. So there's a time and a place for that, but I'm at a place now where creativity is extremely important to my job. So I protect my time a little bit more, protect my well-being a little bit more, because that allows me to stay on top of my game. And that is the most important thing for my business, for me to be at my creative, clear thinking best.
And I know one of the ways in which you've talked about protecting your time, Ben, is around your use of social media, which is, I think, is obviously been a hot topic for a while now. It's going to be a hot topic moving forwards. Like, talk to us now about your involvement with social media, because it's clearly got a place. It's clearly got a positive impact. It's also, especially in our industry, got quite a negative impact in places. Like, how do you manage using it for its positive uses and not allowing it to take you off track? Again, I know a lot of personal trainers end up down the rabbit hole of Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. They waste half the day on there. They think that's where all the clients are going to come from. Like, how do you actually use it in its best form these days? And sort of what rules do you have around your social media usage?
Yeah, so I use it for 30 to 60 minutes a day. And I say that because it depends on the volume of work that I've kind of created.
Yep.
So if something obviously goes really well as part of a marketing campaign, I might have to stay online a bit more and address that activity. But generally, I will do 15 minutes on my morning dog walk. I go for a half an hour morning dog walk. 15 minutes are allowed to be on social media or make calls. And then 15 minutes is a break where I just, relax and enjoy being outside in the countryside. And then I have a portion of social media at the end of my day. So when all the important stuff is done, I'll log online, chat to people and stuff. Now, we run an awful lot of social media accounts. So I am not doing everything. I'm doing a small section of my social media. But we would probably spend in my business 8 hours a day on social media, split between 4 different roles in the business. Yep. So there's actually a lot of time spent on social media. It's just not all me. It used to be all me. Yep. I used to be that guy that was commenting and doing everything, but I can't do that anymore. That's just not my business. It's not how you scale a business. But I am very strict on my time. And when I don't need to be on my phone performing a task, my phone is on airplane mode.
Yeah. And I think that's something people need to do a lot more of. Like mine now, mine's away and on airplane mode. And I've learned to start doing that at night as well. I think that we need to, because a lot of PTs as well are running most of the business through the phone, aren't they? And it's knowing when to put that down and set it aside. One of the things you talked about a minute ago when I asked you about, how you managing people and things like that in your time, you mentioned about like money and investing. And I thought that money would be an interesting topic to go into, because I've heard you mention it in parts in different podcasts, but people haven't really talked about it in any depth with you. And it's obviously something that over the years you will have had to grow your mindset drastically around money. And I imagine like how you manage money and what the business gets and what you get. And again, I know this is something personal trainers struggle with when they're self-employed, they're earning money and things like that. So I know it's quite a big question, but over the last sort of 10 years, how would you say your mindset has changed around the idea of money and finance and how you can use it as a tool? Because clearly you are investing a lot of that and leveraging it to grow your team and grow your business. And I don't always think that a lot of PTs are doing that. I think they're using it just to pay themselves more, which then limits the amount of impact they can have on people and things like that. So there's no real specific question as such there, Ben, I'm aware, but just talk to me about your ideas around that sort of topic, like, and what your journey's been with it.
So I'll premise my answer by saying I'm not financially driven. And that's hard for some people to kind of accept, because people feel that if someone's successful, they must be financially driven. Like, that's the end goal.
Yep.
I believe that if I do good work and create good products and services, I will be fairly remunerated for that work. And I believe that I am. So when I was younger, I had a very relaxed attitude to money, like too relaxed. And what I would do is I would get excited and I'm like, right, we're going to write this book. Right, we're going to build this business. Right, we're going to create this product. Right, we're going to build a gym. And I literally, if I saw some money in the bank account, I'd just go and spend it on stuff. That got me a certain amount of success because I was willing to try and fail and just do it. It also got me a certain amount of failure because I maybe wouldn't account for some bills that were coming out in a couple of weeks, or maybe I put the business under too much stress, or maybe I was not thinking about the mortgage that I'm actually trying to save for, and I keep having this relaxed attitude to money in the business. So everything has its pros and its cons. But as I realized in 2017, when I was facing bankruptcy, I needed to fucking grow up and manage my money properly because I just wasn't doing it. I was having too much to relaxed attitude. So that's when I started to bring a lot better external expertise, because I'm not good with numbers. Like 100% hand on heart. I just, like, if you show me an Excel spreadsheet, it will take me half an hour to like process like what is even on that page. And if there's numbers, I'll probably be there all afternoon. I'm very creative. I'm very visual. I love drawing. I love kind of like describing things with my hands. It's just how I am. So I had to bring other expertise in to kind of do that. And now, you know, we run our business, and I know it sounds simple to say it, like a business. You know, we budget. We have income. We have outcome. We have fixed costs. We have flexible costs. You know, we say, right, this is our salary bill, so that has to be there every month. This is our flexible spending. This is the stuff that this is the money that we're willing to take a punt on, you know, because we're always trying things. But obviously we need to limit that because we have a certain amount of risk in our business. Like, I run a business where 48 to 85 grand is going to come out of my business account every month without fail. So there's a lot going out. So if we're not managing what's going out even better, we'll get into a sticky situation. And I have a fixed salary. I, hand on heart, I earn 45 grand a year. That's it. I could earn more for my business, but I don't. I like to reinvest it. I have enough money to enjoy my life. My wife is a nurse, so, you know, we're comfortable. She has a good salary. There'll be a point in time for me that might change, but my interest right now is my mission. Is to keep improving education in the fitness industry, to challenge myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the challenge of business. I love getting up today and going, right, I know there's a problem around the corner today, but I'm going to fix it and I'm going to grow as a result of that problem. And I do relish that challenge every day. So I do find business exciting, but I am very good at running away from the numbers. But luckily I've got good people to help me with those numbers these days, to make sure that I don't slip up.
Yeah. And I think what that's a great example of, though, Ben, is just, it's very clear that you know yourself very well. And again, I think that's a journey that people have to go on. They just have to get a bit of life experience and understand, like you said there, you're a creative person. That comes with a lot of good things. It comes with maybe some downside as well. And it's about surrounding yourself with people that can help you with those areas that you're not great at, you know, and help you in some of those weaker areas. That's what we should be doing as a business owner. You know, we can't ignore some of these things. And a couple of podcast episodes ago, I had one of my mentors on, actually, Paul Campy, talking about finance and like this structure that we try and teach trainers when they first enter the industry. And to be honest with you, it's quite boring. It's quite mundane, but a lot of these things are, but it's these boring, mundane things that you've got to get on top of that then make you feel like you've got a bit of freedom and that you know what's going on. People think that freedom is just being able to go out and spend what you want when you want and things like that, but it's not. It's having structure.
Yeah, structure creates freedom. A lot of people don't get that. You know, you need someone to maybe sit down with you and go, right, Matt, we've got a budget for this, we've got a budget that, but that budget you can do what you want with. So at least you've got freedom within boundaries. And it kind of keeps us sane. It's like people look at my job and my work and go, oh, you must be busy all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but only because I make myself busy. But don't think looking at my business that, things are just flying everywhere and like social media and emails. It's all just crazy. Like I'm trying to hold on with my pants in the wind. Like, no, I have a huge amount of freedom in my business, although I'm busy, but it's because I have a great amount of structure.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you mentioned earlier, you've got people around you now and you've got mentors and things like that. Like, give us an idea about the role that mentors have played in your development. Because here at Profit, we make sure that every trainer gets a personal mentor. It's part of our structure. We believe that everyone entering the industry needs someone to sort of hold the hand a little bit and give them a bit of support and get to know them on a personal level. Talk to us a little bit about, the roles that mentors have played in your development and where you've sort of made the most of having a mentor. What have they been most useful for you personally?
Mentors have added perspective to my decision making. So no mentor should ever have the perspective that like, this is the right way, like you should go and do it. That's not a mentor. That's basically like having another dad and like just getting bossed around. Like a mentor's there to add perspective from their experience. They've probably had failures that you've yet to experience. So I have a strategic financial mentor in my business right now. He's a contracted CFO in our business. And he's there to go, Ben, whoa, you need to think about this. Like, this could happen if you don't anticipate this. Like, what if, for example, something that we have to bear in mind that I would never even think about in our business is exchange rate changes. Like something like that when we're ordering product in from Europe, like he'll go, because his experience, don't forget about the euro change. So you need a little window financially so that you don't kind of crop up. Yeah, mentorship is absolutely essential, and mentors will come and go, and that's okay. I think some people are kind of almost scared to sort of, it's like they let their mentor down, but the more mentors you have, the more you're developing. Like, Matt, if I become your mentor today, we'll maybe do some good work together for 3 to 6 months, and then you're off. You're gone. You're moving on to the next person that can help you, and that is absolutely okay. And I've probably had about 12 to 15 mentors in the last sort of, 10 years of my business. And there's probably even more than that, because there's kind of industry friends that you develop and they end up being kind of almost a casual mentor because you just have this relationship where you just try and help each other. So it's very much about getting perspective. But the chances are you will still do it your own way. And that is absolutely fine. But as long as I know now about the kind of downsides and the risks and maybe different ways of doing it, I can now kind of shape my way a little bit better for a better outcome.
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's nice to hear that even people that we see as at the top of the industry still require that help. They still require that perspective. You never really get to the point where you know it all. And I think if you find yourself thinking that you're in that position, you probably need to take a look at yourself and realize that that's a dangerous place to be. So sort of to finish off with the last few questions, Ben, I want to spend a little bit of time, if we can, maybe helping out some of the newer people in the industry that are maybe a bit fresher in. I know you wrote a book a while ago titled How to Be an Awesome Personal Trainer. So you're great at helping that audience. Just on that book, now that that's been out a while, do you see any like potential changes in what you would advise to people? If they were picking up a book like that, like newer people in the industry, what sort of bits might have changed since releasing that, if anything, or have your ideas around new PTs changed at all?
No, all the rules, all the fundamentals are still there. Nothing's changed. I'm actually going to not rewrite the book, but I'm going to add some stuff to it in a couple of months. And that's only because there's more that I think I can put in it. I reckon I'll change about 10% of what's there. And that's probably because my experience has just kind of widened rather than like changed. Being a personal trainer is actually really freaking easy if you get the basics right. And a lot of people are not getting the basics right about really caring about the client that's in front of you, really exploring what their problems are, really taking care of them, having fantastic communication during and after your session, having a journey that the kind of customer's going to go on, that they can see and buy into and invest in that journey with you. Like, you get all of these right and you put it into a product and a service that you are passionate about and you can't stop talking about, and you just see personal training as a numbers game, which it is. Like, if you went and talked to 100 people today, what's the chances that 5 to 10 people will be interested in what you do?
Yep.
And then 3 to 4 will be happy to have a taster session, and then 1 to 2 will sign up as clients. Well, now you know that if you want 10 clients at 3 sessions a week, you need to go away and talk to how many? About 500 people, because that's your rate of conversion from a sales perspective. I need to speak to 500 people in the next 2 months, and then I'll have a business. So once you actually get those fundamentals, personal training is easy. But people are sitting in cafes trying to edit their Instagram profile and make the perfect lunch to put a post up and hopefully get a client. No, like, think about how personal trainers were successful 20 years ago. And that will probably lead you to more success than how personal trainers are trying to get it in 2019.
Yeah. And the reality is people buy from people, don't they? You know, if anything, that sort of face-to-face connection with people is now more important than it ever was, because they don't get it. So if you can go and connect with someone on a good level, on a gym floor or wherever it is, in a studio, whatever it is your environment is, then straight away that's going to make you stand out in that person's day. And if you come across well, if you've got a clear attitude towards helping and being helpful to others, like you say, I do think it is a lot easier than people make it out. It's just that they focus on the more complicated stuff that maybe doesn't get clients and forget about these simple fundamentals. I think being reminded about those fundamentals is important. So to sort of tie it all together today, Ben, you mentioned before we started recording that there might be something that you want to give away to the audience. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And we can sort of tie it all up.
My book, How to Be an Awesome Personal Trainer, everyone listening can have a free copy. Just click the link in the description of this podcast and go to the link, download it, have it, enjoy it, become a better coach. Like, the book's been out a while now. I never wrote the book to kind of make money. I made the book to make the personal training industry a better place. So if people want to read it, you can go and read it.
That's awesome, Ben. That's very generous of you. And at the risk of being a little bit cheeky, Ben, what if you could give us a little insight as to what might be one of these little things that you're going to add to the new version of the book, this 10% you mentioned, just to give people a bit of an insight if they're going to look out for that book coming out in the future. What could you give us a little taste of, one of those things that might be changed or added in there?
Yeah, sure. So the book is very much not a nutrition and training book. It's very much about my journey as a coach, what I learned, the skills that I felt made me a good coach. So it's very much about behavior, coaching, leadership, finances, all sorts of stuff. I'd probably write in there a lot more about becoming a leader in your own life.
Right.
Leading from the front, taking ownership of all your problems, developing yourself on a truly deep level so that you can go and help lots of other people. So I'd probably add that, because if you could be a leader in your own life, you'll be a leader in other people's life. People will follow your advice and you'll get incredible results with clients.
Yep. Agreed. I know you're a big fan of the extreme ownership stuff, aren't you, Ben, and things like that. So that's probably had the impact in there. Are there any other, just before we finish off, are there any other books like that one that have had that level of impact on you? Are there any, because I know you're a very well-read individual and you'll have read hundreds of books, but clearly that one stood out for you. Are there any others that are in that sort of category for you?
Yeah, I think it's The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Yep.
Again, it's a book that I believe every human should read from just a life perspective. Like, if you want to be a better human, and a better human will get better results with their clients, guaranteed, then you need to be reading these types of books, because again, it's about leadership. It's about communication. It's about behavior. It's about human desire. Like, if we understand people's motives, emotions, what's the chances you'll be a good coach? You will be an incredible coach.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for coming along today, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Before we finish off the recording, where's the best place for people to find you? I know that you've done a good job of spreading yourself all over the internet. Where would you like people to come and find you? Where would you point them to? Obviously, you've got the BTN side of things. You've got all your personal profiles and things like that. So give us an idea of where to find you.
Yeah. However people like to learn, whether it's podcasts, emails, social media, just type Ben Coomber in and you'll find some cool stuff. Obviously, there's my website, bencoomber.com, but whether you're a podcaster, whether you like Instagram, just put Ben Coomber in there, give it a follow and see if you like what you see.
Great stuff, Ben. Well, thank you very much for coming along today. It's been a great experience having you on.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.